show me the money.
Show me the money!
Jerry, you better yell! Show me the money! He's the largest black man!
Tom Cruise could be talking about the race to the White House in 2016. The candidates are cruising to spend record-breaking amounts. In fact, at this point, they're spending nearly twice as much as the candidates did in the 2012 election cycle. And Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton have the most to spend. Bush has already raised $114 million. That is nearly 3 times the amount that Hillary has raked in. When you dig deeper into the numbers on the Democratic side, you see that Hillary Clinton raised most of her money from big donors, but Bernie Sanders is getting most of the money from people giving less than $200. And also, according to PolitiFact, Hillary's biggest donors are banks and big corporations. Bernie Sanders' biggest support coming from labor unions. Let's get to our panel to discuss what this all means. Richard Brodsky is a former Democratic New York State Assemblyman, now a senior fellow at Demos and a professor at NYU. Dominic Carter, back with us, as you know, political journalist and author, and Republican strategist Bill O'Reilly. So, Bill, let me start with you. What does this tell us, both about the race and about the impact of big money in politics in 2016?
I don't think it tells us much that we don't already know. I mean, there's big money available. I think clearly the front runners are targeting the traditional money sources, the Wall Street types and the big bundlers. And I think the Bernie Sanders and the smaller candidates have to go after smaller contributors. There's going to be plenty of money spent. I'm surprised that they're twice the pace of 2012, where the numbers were staggering. There's a lot of money in politics. I think that's all it shows.
Richard, you agree?
Yeah, well, I not only do I agree with what? Agree that there's a lot of money in politics? I mean, what do you have to be? A PhD to figure that one out?
Welcome back to the show, Richard.
It's nice to be back. I mean, the problem is that he talks about it like it's okay. It's not okay. It's really awful, because the same guys who are writing those big checks and the same corporations who are writing those big checks expect back. And that's why we have an economy dominated by a political ideology that says cut taxes for the rich. It's your fault, Bill.
Most of the money is being spent by unions. Which is you
Oh,
guys.
that's absolute
That's
nonsense.
No, that is the case. That is the case. More money in 2012 was put in by unions.
Nonsense.
That's the
You're
truth.
making it up as you go along.
I'm not making it up. The biggest
Look,
single contributor
I'll
came
tell
from the
you what,
unions.
I'll make a deal with you right now.
Yeah.
No more union money, no more corporate money. What do you say?
Deal.
I'll
take it.
No,
I'll take it.
Okay,
we tried to get that deal
that
10 years
problem.
ago. We tried to get that deal in New York and we couldn't get it.
Dominic, we look at the poll numbers a lot to try to see who's in front. Should we be throwing that stuff out? Isn't this the real measure of who's in front? Who's making the money?
It's a good indicator. No one likes to throw money away. So what you're looking at, people go with who they believe are going to be the winners. And so they're both right to a degree. Can we cut this down the middle? So
No.
we can,
why can't we all just get along?
Why can't we all just get along? I love you, man. But
Yikes.
when you look at the money, I mean, it's not surprising that the banks and so on going with Hillary. Well, because based on polling, Hillary has a good shot at being the next president of the United States. So wouldn't you want to curry favor with the top person in office?
Part of the problem on the graphic, if you don't mind me saying so, is you combine the Bush money. The Bush money is third-party money as well as the actual candidate money. When you do candidate to candidate, Hillary's ahead.
Let me go back to Hillary for a second, because she's been positioning herself as being more progressive on economic issues than she was in 2008, and shifting towards the Sanders, towards the Warren side of the Democratic Party, talking about, income inequality and hammering Wall Street. But if the money's all coming from Wall Street and from these big companies, as opposed to Bernie Sanders' money coming from these labor unions, is there reason for doubt? Is there reason for skepticism about what Hillary Clinton's really prepared to do?
There's a cynical statement made that I can't quote on family television, but it comes down to this. Somebody saying about this question, if you can't take their money and vote against them, you ought not to be in the business. The fact of the matter is that there isn't anybody running for office in any place that doesn't take the bulk of his money from business.
Does anybody think that Hillary's taken this money so that she can vote against those interests?
I don't. I mean, President Obama took a lot of money from Wall Street as well. It's where the money is. I think the point is that money, to Richard's point before, is money is going to get into the game somehow, one way or the other. It's going to get in.
Until we
Whether it
change
has-
the Supreme
Whether it
Court.
has to be through an independent expenditure, whether directly to the candidates, whether to the party, whether through other sources, it's always going to get in.
But you know what? Here's the honest truth. I'm going to be
Finally.
very honest.
Finally.
here.
Finally.
When did you change your policy?
I mean, we're listening to Democrat,
Do we have to
Republican,
change the
but,
policy now?
but here's the truth. And we can joke all we want. The clip that you showed at the beginning of this segment from the movie Show Me the Money.
Great clip.
That's really what it comes down to in politics. Now the politicians, I wonder who I'm referring to. The politicians will tell you different. But that Democrat, Republican, that's what it comes down to. The way he was dancing around, playing the athlete, show me the money, that's the politician. And the person on the phone, I guess the Tom Cruise character, would be the big donors that give up the money.
Let me get your take on the Hillary question then, because if she's getting all of her money from, and I can't say this clip enough, but if she's getting all the money from Wall Street, is there additional reason to doubt her intentions or the directions that she'll go when she claims to be on the populist left?
But the one thing Mr. Brodsky said that was correct.
The one.
The uno. Big banks, they know that these major candidates know how to play ball. These big banks know they can't win them all, but they do know for their money, they'll get your ear and you'll get the benefit of the doubt.
There are also something called voters. And you can raise all the money you want to raise, but if your message isn't resonating with voters, like Republican national messages are not resonating, the source of the money becomes secondary, and the ideas emerge as important.
But Bill, you've advised plenty of candidates. If you have more money, you can influence the issues and change people's opinions more effectively than you can without it, right?
You can, but Richard's right. The best funded candidates don't always win. They often don't win. But yeah, I mean, look at what Mike Bloomberg did in New York City. Mike Bloomberg put in, $100 million a pop for each election. He bought every type of medium you could possibly get. He appealed to every ethnic group. He had multi-channels that hadn't even been invented yet to get to people. Absolutely, like money is power, is communications tools. It's how you get to people. But it doesn't mean that you win, because there still are voters out there that can think. But it helps.
If it's Clinton and Bush in the general election, and they've got these massive war chests going, I mean, whoever the nominee is going to get a huge chunk of money from their side. What kind of bloodbath are we looking at in terms of the spending, the media? I mean, a year from now, it's going to be nothing but political
We're looking
ads,
at
right?
a bloodbath no matter who the nominees are. But if it's Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush, even though the two families are getting along with each other, they're going to kill each other.
Get beyond the notion that money is a real problem, and it is, and then go back and look at what will divide people like, let's say, Bush and Clinton, if it comes down to that. And again, maybe be able to say that as long as that it'll be about the economy, it'll be about the middle class, it'll be about making sure people can earn enough to live their lives. And there, Hillary has a tremendous advantage and is going to win.
Well, that sounds like you think it's going to be a positive issue election. Hey, here's what I can do for you, as opposed to bludgeoning the other person and saying you can't trust them, you can't vote for them. Most people think this is going to be a negative cycle, don't you?
It's absolutely going to be a negative campaign. If you look at President Obama's campaign last time, it was almost all negative, although he got away with it. He didn't hurt himself as badly as he might have.
Oh,
but,
no, he didn't have to attack Romney. He left that to Rick Santorum and the rest of the Republicans.
But 96% of the Obama ads were negative. They were tarring Romney, and they do it because it works. So of course it's what's going to happen again. It's what works.
We got to leave it there. We got to go back to one of our breaking news stories, and that is out of Colorado. The breaking news out of Centennial, Colorado. Jurors in the courtroom you're looking at just convicted James Holmes of first-degree murder. He killed 12 people in an Aurora movie theater 3 years ago. Holmes' attorneys argued he was in the middle of a psychotic breakdown and could not tell right from wrong. The jurors rejecting that insanity argument, and now they are going to decide whether James Holmes will live or receive the death penalty. We'll have more on RFL right after this.